everybody, this is Diana from So Very Crafty, and we are here today to make this really cute chef's hat. And the reason we're making this today is because I had a viewer who requested this project. So I decided to come up with this pattern and make it for you today. It is really simple. I was actually surprised at how simple it was to make a little chef's hat. And you can make this hat any size that you want. So it is just a simple little sewing project that anyone with basic sewing skills can make. As usual here on So Very Crafty, I added a nice little flower band on mine. You can make yours all white like a chef's hat. You can make it any color you want. It's completely up to you. But it's a super simple project, and we're going to learn how to make it right now. Now, of course, as usual, if you enjoy this project, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, ding that bell for notifications, and if you want more sewing and crafting tutorials, head over to the website at www.soverycrafty.com and get more sewing and crafting tutorials that you won't see here on the YouTube channel. So with that in mind, let's get started on how to make this adorable little chef's hat. So what we need is a square of fabric, and I've used white here, but you can use any color you want, that measures 24 inches by 24 inches. Now, in order to make this any size that you want, you're going to measure your head across your forehead and add 1 inch. Now, my head measures 22 inches, and so I added 1 inch, and I got my band for my chef's hat, and I made this 9 inches wide because we are going to fold this in half to ultimately make our band for this project. The next thing that you are going to need is a 23 inch, or however long your band is, by 4.5 inch piece of Pellon 808 interfacing. That's going to give our hat band a little bit of structure. So for now, we are going to set that aside, and we're going to focus on the top part of our hat. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our square of fabric and we are going to fold it in half. And because this is a square, it doesn't matter which direction you fold it. And let's make sure these raw edges line up. Just like that. And then we're going to fold it in half again. And we don't have to be too concerned about the raw edges at this point. But what we do need to do is be cognizant of our corner where the folds are. We have 2 folds on this corner and a big fold on this corner. And that's going to be important. We are going to measure down about 1 inch from that corner. And we're going to make a mark. Now, I have this giant compass that I use for making circles and things. You don't necessarily need one of these, but it makes it a whole lot easier. So I'm just going to place my compass on the 1-inch mark. But if you don't have a compass, just mark the 1-inch mark right there. Then you're going to measure down 1 inch from the bottom of that side and make another mark. And all you're going to do from here is draw an arc all the way across, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Now you can do this, eyeball this if you want. I find using the compass a little bit easier, but you can just draw an arc from the 1-inch side to the 1-inch side and make it a nice arc. It really doesn't need to be perfect for this because it's going to get all gathered up anyway. The next thing we're going to do is we are just going to cut along this arc. And what that does is that gives us a very large circle. And that very large circle is ultimately going to be our top of our hat. So we're just going to set that aside for now, and we are going to prepare our band for this project. We're going to take our band and place it wrong sides up on our surface. We're going to take our interfacing, place it with the shiny side down onto our bottom of our project on our band. And then we're going to head over to a hot iron, and we are going to fuse this interfacing onto the band of our hat. And then I'm just going to run over to the iron and do that, and then I'll be right back and we will move on to the next step. Okay, now that we have completed fusing our interfacing onto our project, we are going to fold down the long raw edges about a 1/2 inch. And we're going to press that, and we're going to do that on both sides of our project. So I'm going to run over to the iron, and I'm going to press these long raw edges down, and then I'll be right back. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to open these folds a little bit, and we are going to place this right sides together, and we are going to stitch just a straight stitch along this short end using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to just stitch right down this edge using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now we have a tube with some folded edges. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to fold this in half, so that our folded edges meet I'm just going to clip them for the moment to make it a little easier, but they won't stay clipped. We just want to make sure that these folded edges are aligned. There we go. And we have our band of our project aligned. And we're just going to set this aside. Now we are going to take our circle, we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch 2 rows of stitching along the edge using a basting stitch. And the basting stitch is basically as big of a stitch as you can make on your machine, or you could even do this by hand if it's easier for you. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine, and we are going to baste 2 lines of stitching along this edge so that we can pull our edges of our circle so they scrunch up and they fit inside of this hat band. So let's head over to the sewing machine and take care of that. So here we are at the sewing machine, and I'm going to move my stitch length up to 5 because that's as far apart as my stitch length will go. And I am going to place my presser foot just the width of the presser foot, and in this case it's 3/8 inch, and I'm going to just stitch all the way around the edge. Okay, now I'm going to stitch another row of stitching just along the inside of the first row. And I'm just going to use the width of my presser foot for that. Now let's go back to our workstation and move on to our next step. Okay, we are back at our workstation, and we have these tails from our stitching. And we are simply going to pull these tails to create our ruffle for our chef's hat. Now, if you're making this for a child, you may want to make your original square for this project a little bit smaller, maybe 20 by 20. And you can see that we are stretching this out pretty good, but it does take a little bit of time. Okay, so that should do it for our top of our cap. Now, the next thing we need to do is to place our band on top of, on the bottom ruffle of our cap. So we can take off all of these clips. And place the ruffled edges in between the two layers of the hat band. And you're going to pin those, the three layers together, making sure that the folded edges line up. And we're going to do that all the way around while this stays nice and scrunched up. And again, this doesn't have to be that precise, but it's completely up to you how you want to do this. I'm not that precise, so we're just going to pin this all the way around. And that's all there is to inserting the cap into the band of our project. So now let's head over to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch all the way around the top. And I'm going to do 2 rows of stitching along here to secure my top of my chef's hat to the band of my chef's hat. So let's head over to the sewing machine and take care of that. Here we are at the sewing machine, and I'm using my free arm to just stitch 2 rows of stitching along our band to make it nice and secure. Now let's just stitch another row of stitching along here. And that's it. And there you have it, your super simple beginner chef's hat. And this is perfect for the outdoor barbecue for your husband, minus the flowers maybe, but it is just that easy to make, doesn't take long, and anybody can do it. So simple. Just make sure you have an iron and a couple of pieces of fabric, and you are ready to make your own chef's hat for your child, for your husband, for you. Just to ruffle up some grub in the kitchen or on the barbecue, it's a perfect way to go. So I hope you enjoyed this project today, and if you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, ding that bell for notifications, and head over to the website at www.soverycrafty.com and get this project and many more sewing and crafting tutorials that you won't see here on the YouTube channel, so that you can learn how to sew, learn how to craft. And by the way, I have a new website that you can check out over at paperdaisy.com. So if you are into Cricut crafts and paper crafting, head over to Paper Daisy. It's brand new and ready for you to view. So that's it for today, and I will see you all next time. Bye.